This is the Love Series, 14 poems in 14 days to celebrate Valentine's Day. Sometimes there are lines of poetry that become so well known past the common parlance that they end up within the realm of cliché, where they lose all meaning and perspective. We will deal with just such a poem today. Welcome to Strip Coverlet, where we squeeze the bigger picture out of literature. I'm Adrian Fort, and we're here for another poetry discussion, which will find its way into two separate playlists here on the channel. Number one being, of course, the poetry discussion playlist, now over 630 videos strong, and number two, the Love Series, 14 poems in 14 days celebrating Valentine's Day and the outrageous, ludicrous, and bogus idea that is love itself. Today's poem is How Do I Love Thee by Elizabeth Barrett Browning, and it reads as such. How do I love thee? Let me count the ways. I love thee to the depth and breadth and height my soul can reach when feeling out of sight for the ends of being and ideal grace. I love thee to the level of every day's most quiet need, by sun and candlelight. I love thee freely, as men strive for right. I love thee purely, as they turn from praise. I love thee with the passion put to use in my old griefs and with my childhood's faith. I love thee with a love I seemed to lose with my lost saints. I love thee with the breath, smiles, tears of all my life, and, if God choose, I shall but love thee better after death. So this is, how do I love thee? Let me count the ways, right? That is a line that has reached the level of cliche, but I do want to look at this poem. We have talked about all sorts of love and ideas and representations of love. We've talked about the selfish love. We've talked about the selfless love. We've talked about the possessive love. We've talked about all sorts of those incarnations. The naive love, this series. But we haven't talked, in my opinion, about what it is that we are getting in this poem. In this poem, in my opinion, what we are getting is almost motherly love. Now, look, I know that it is not cool on the internet to talk about motherly, fatherly, things like that. That's fine. You want to argue about things like that. That's fine. You get to have whatever arguments you want. What I'm doing here right now is looking at the sort of archetypal ideas about fatherly love and motherly love. So I did. I went and I asked ChatGPT itself. So the good thing here with ChatGPT, what this really is a representation of sort of the collective unconsciousness of the internet. That's kind of what is represented by ChatGPT. So if you're asking about archetypes, it would be quite fitting to find a collective unconsciousness to ask that question. I asked, what is the archetypal fatherly love? And ChatGPT said this. Fatherly love in literature. So this is a funny thing. ChatGPT has memory now. So because I have conversations with ChatGPT about literature, whenever I ask it a question, unless I specify otherwise, it automatically answers that question in literary terms. So, fatherly love in literature, psychology, and mythology often embodies a dual nature, both protective and instructive. This right here is fatherly love. It balances strength and tenderness, discipline and guidance, forming a unique archetype across cultures. Now, this is the archetype of fatherly love, meaning that yes, mothers do these things as well, but you don't go to your mother for this. You go to your father for this. And the things that we will see from the motherly love archetype are things that you don't go to dad for, though dad probably does it. Archetypal motherly love. Motherly love, in mythology, psychology, and literature, is often depicted as unconditional, nurturing, and self-sacrificing. But it also carries complexities like overprotection, absence, or even destructive love. The mother archetype can be broken down into several key roles, each shaping how maternal love is portrayed. In my opinion, and this is maybe neither here nor there, this answer from ChatGPT is suffering from the zeitgeist. I don't think the archetype of motherly love needs to have overprotection, absence, or destructive love mentioned. Those are not the archetypes, those are basically the shadow forms of this. So, one of the interesting things that you have in this dichotomy is this. The father is to protect and instruct. Sort of sounds like the police, doesn't it? Protect and serve. In protection, in instructiveness, one of the things that often arises as a responsibility is father's got to always be at work. Dad always has to be working. If he's not always working, he's probably a lazy bum. We see this all the time. That idea is nothing other than self-sacrificing, right? And in the same way, oftentimes, how many of you have had your mother say to you when you were a child, "I'll call your father," right? Probably you know that phrase. Buried in that phrase is the assumption that mother is protecting you from father. Don't make me call your father. You know I'm standing between you and him right now, but I won't. So each of these roles has something of the other in it. I think in this poem, How Do I Love Thee? Let Me Count the Ways, what we are mostly getting is a type of motherly love. This is not to say that it is a mother-to-child poem. One of the weird things that is starting to, at least as far as I know, this might be old, but I'm just hearing about it, starting to make itself evident through brain imaging technology, is that you base your interpretation of what love is from your relationships with your parents. This becomes problematic in people that have no parents or have bad parents. But it still happens. You still graft that relationship into your brain and project it onto whoever it is in the world you decide to love. Take as a lover. The weird thing they're finding now is whether you're talking about familial love, the way that you love your parents, the way that you love your children, or romantic love, those ideas, though very different they are, have the very same root place in the brain. So, I don't say this to be Freudian. I say this because what it communicates is that the ideas of motherly love will be present in romantic relationships. The ideas of fatherly love will be present in a romantic relationship. One of the things that has become an internet meme is the guy explaining things, mansplaining, right? Where does that come from? Where does a man's inherent desire to explain things come from other than that instructive love that a father is supposed to convey? The motherly love, if you look at that definition, kind of what it is it is providing a shelter. You can call it spiritual, you can call it emotional, whatever it is that you decide to call it, that motherly love is providing shelter. This poem, in many ways, is about providing shelter. Even so, if you go through the poem, how do I love thee? Let me count the ways. I love thee to the depth and breadth and height my soul can reach when feeling out of sight for the ends of being and ideal grace. To the depth and breadth and height, sheltering, all of these ways, sheltering, for the ends of being and ideal grace. I love thee to the level of every day's most quiet need by sun and candlelight. I love you to your day's need. You need to be fed, you need to be sheltered, you need to be clothed, all of these things. I love thee freely as men strive for right. I love thee purely as they turn from praise. These things, striving for right, turning from praise, these things are about duty. These things are saying, I love the fatherly archetypal ideas of love in you. To protect and serve, right? That's kind of what the fatherly archetypal discussion is. As men strive for right, right is justice. As they turn from praise, praise, to be praised is to lose a little bit of one's sanctity of self, is to lose a little bit of the humility, right? I love thee purely, or I love thee with the passion put to use in old griefs and with my childhood's faith. We're going back to when we were children. I love thee with a love I seemed to lose when I lost saints. I love thee with the breath, smiles, tears of all my life, and if God should choose, I shall love thee better after death. When you die, I'll be watching over you. I wanted to read a little bit of lyrics, a few lyrics here. This is from Mother Love by Queen. Now, just a little bit of a pop quiz here, or pop quiz answer, if you ever find yourself in the need of this answer. These lyrics were the very last sang by Freddie Mercury. In the middle of his performance for this song, he went home. He did not return the next day. Mother Love by Queen. I don't want to sleep with you. I don't need the passion too. I don't want a stormy affair to make me feel my life is heading somewhere. All I want is the comfort and care, just to know that my woman gives me sweet mother love. I've walked too long this lonely lane, and I've had enough of the same old game. I'm a man of the world, and they say that I'm strong, but my heart is heavy, and my hope is gone. These lyrics are pleading for shelter, for the shelter of motherly love. I don't think that this poem often gets talked about in that way, but it does not feel romantic. This isn't Wild Nights by Emily Dickinson. It does not feel like a love song. It does not feel like any of these sultry words, right? It feels markedly different than that. That is all I have for this poetry discussion. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting the like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other literature lovers. If you find yourself here by chance but not design, literature is the only thing I talk about on this channel, dropping multiple videos every single week. There's poetry every Monday, and I hope to have you back for the next one.